want to discuss the what I hope will become Bernie Sanders finally stopping swallowing shit from the Democratic establishment and finally fighting the Democratic establishment. Because what I am seeing from Joe Biden is some Mitt Romney level flip-flopping circa 2012 and essentially what I would call a hoodwinking of the masses. Donald Trump is no longer president. There's no Donald Trump to use as an excuse. The Democratic Party is trying to distract away from the horrible, horrible economic pain people are experiencing to fixate on QAnon and Marjorie Greene Taylor and other things. Tomorrow starts President Trump's second impeachment trial, so obviously there will be a fixation on that. But to me, Bernie Sanders, who I respect, but is not beyond criticism, Bernie Sanders better fight this moonwalking currently going on, or he will be on my and other progressives' shit list. You know, sometimes I'm saying called a Bernie homer. Well, not today, because there's no excuse for Bernie not to start publicly fighting Biden on moonwalking away from the bare minimum, which is a $15 minimum wage. So if you haven't seen this, here is Joe Biden, the president of the United States, who frankly has all the power in the world right now to use his presidential muscle, to use the bully pulpit and smash that like button. We got 100 people watching. There seems to be a delay in the chat. There seems to be a delay in viewership. So definitely smash the like button. Share this live stream if you can. Joe Biden, who right now, I think his approval is at a 61%. The first 100 days of a new administration is usually when they could get the most done. Right now, you got horrible economic numbers as the backdrop. You got progressives, neoliberals, and conservatives who want major stimulus. You got progressives, neoliberals, and a lot of conservatives that want a $15 minimum wage, which, by the way, a $15 minimum wage is the moderate to conservative position. It should be closer to $23 to $25 minimum wage with taking into account inflation over the last 30 years. So a $15 minimum wage should have been years ago. And we're not even talking about a $15 minimum wage right away. We're talking in this neoliberal phased-in $15 minimum wage. But when Joe Biden was pressed by CBS, here's what he said about whether a $15 minimum wage would happen as part of his COVID relief bill, the $1.9 trillion bill that he's already moonwalking away from that too. Here's what he said about a minimum wage.
You're not compromising on the $1,400 checks. You made that promise. You're sticking to it. So the big question is who gets the check?
Exactly right.
Is it someone who makes up to $50,000 or is it someone who makes up to $75,000?
I'm prepared to negotiate that, but here's the deal. Middle-class folks need help, but you don't need to get any help to someone making $300,000 or $250,000. So it's somewhere between an individual making up to $75,000 and phasing out and a couple making up to $150,000 and phasing out. But again, I'm wide open on what that is.
You also want to raise the minimum wage to $15. Is that something you would be willing to negotiate on in order to get Republican support?
Well, apparently that's not going to occur because of the rules of the United States Senate.
So you're saying the minimum wage won't be in this?
My guess is it will not be in it. But I do think that we should have a minimum wage stand by itself, $15 an hour, and work your way up to the 15. It doesn't have to be boom. And all the economics show if you do that, the whole economy rises. I'm prepared, as President of the United States, on a separate negotiation on minimum wage to work my way up from what it is now, which is pain. Look, no one should work 40 hours a week and live below the poverty wage. And if you're making less than $15 an hour, you're living below the poverty wage.
But that may not be in your American Rescue Plan wage.
No, I put it in, but I don't think it's going to survive.
I think it was significant, the $15.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Wait a minute. And make sure you smash that like button. We got almost 200 people watching. About 100 of you have pressed that like button. Press that like button, even if you don't like me. Fake it. By the way, I would strongly encourage you, do not be like me and cut your own hair in this pandemic. You'll end up looking like you're in the military. I cut my own hair so I wouldn't have to go out to a hair cutter, and it didn't go so well, as you could see. So don't cut your own hair. Have somebody who knows how to cut hair cut it. So let me get something straight here. Joe Biden, who is the president, who is at a 61% approval rating. Thank you for the super chat. Lana Del Hasselclock. Please keep those super chats coming. $5. They could tax it back from those of us still working. That is not difficult. Just send the dollars out and stop the BS. I couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. And keep those super chats coming. Later, I'll be breaking some news to the Status Coup viewership, which will require more revenue. So please, keep it coming in the super chat. So Joe Biden, new president, 61% approval rating. He is some passive grasshopper sitting on a park bench saying, I just don't think it's going to pass. I don't think we could get the $15 minimum wage as part of the COVID relief bill, which, by the way, to be clear, because the corporate media framing is that this is a massive $1.9 trillion bill. $1.9 trillion is insufficient for the magnitude of the economic gunshot wound we have. Just like $750 billion was insufficient over a decade ago, $1.9 trillion is insufficient. A $1,400 check, now means tested, is insufficient. A $2,000 check was already insufficient. The fact that they're not doing it monthly is insufficient. And by the way, when they talk about means testing, the $1,400 check under the premise, well, we don't want people making $350,000 a year. They always kind of cloak it in, we don't want the really rich getting that benefit, even though they're trying currently to repeal the salt tax cap, which in English is just a deduction for rich people. Chuck Schumer's trying to completely repeal the salt tax deduction cap, which is a huge, huge sexual favor to wealthy, upper middle class Democratic Party donors. Well, let me remind you, the Washington Post, it's rare, did a really good investigation, I think it was last year, on the Afghanistan war. And you know what they found? That literally, contractors were being told on the ground in Afghanistan, we expect you to dole out $3 million daily for projects in a single Afghan district, roughly the size of a U.S. county. The contractor once asked a congressman whether the lawmaker could responsibly spend that kind of money back home, $3 million a day. Quote, he said, hell no. Well, sir, that's what you just obligated us to spend, and I'm doing it for communities that live in mud huts with no windows. And by the way, USAID guessed that 90% of what they spent was overkill in Afghanistan. Well, I didn't hear any discussion in that Washington Post piece or from the Pentagon or from Joe Biden or from Mitch McConnell and the rest of them on means testing money in Afghanistan and Iraq and Somalia and Yemen and all the other countries that we are spending obscene amount of money on. But we have to means test a $1,400 check. And before I get back to the $15 minimum wage fight, let's just be clear. When they talk about survival checks, I don't know, maybe I'm traveling, even though I haven't been in the field recently, maybe I'm traveling in an entire different universe, but $1,400 is not going to make somebody survive. You have people who are literally 6 months to a year behind in their rent or their mortgages or their student loan payments, or name your bill that you are significantly behind on. Not to mention, your rent is not being forgiven, folks. Your mortgages are not being forgiven, folks. That bill is coming due either at the end of March or the moratorium on evictions. Whenever the music stops and they expire that moratorium, you're going to owe between $10,000 and $20,000 in rent. That's just a guesstimate. Thank you for the super chat. Rugi Peruni, $4.99. Your hair looks fine. Thanks for streaming. Keeping it real. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. My wife does like my hair. And by the way, I've heard some other channels are saying very nasty things about my wife. You don't fuck with my wife, whoever's doing that. I will come for you. Okay? I could disagree with my wife. I could say things to her, but I don't want to hear other channels saying venomous things about my Anat, because I will come, and I will come for blood. To be clear, YouTube, since you can't distinguish between violence and not violence, I'm not talking about physical violence. I'm not coming for anybody's blood. Just want to be clear. So these are not survival checks. Is it better to have $1,400 check in the mail rather than not have it? Yeah, but the framing, this corporate framing that these are survival checks and this is desperate help for the middle class, it is way, way insufficient. Way, way, way insufficient to the magnitude of the problem. So now we have Biden acting like a little innocent grasshopper who has no influence. If you came late, let me play this one more time. This is the President of the United States pretending that he has no authority, no power, no muscle to make sure that a $15 minimum wage is in his COVID relief bill. One more time for those who didn't hear it.
$1,000, or is it someone who makes up to $75,000?
I'm prepared to negotiate that, but here's the deal. Middle-class folks need help, but you don't need to get any help to someone making $300,000 or $250,000. So it's somewhere between an individual making up to $75,000 and phasing out and a couple making up to $150,000 and phasing out. But again, I'm wide open on what that is.
You also want to raise the minimum wage to $15. Is that something you would be willing to negotiate on in order to get Republican support?
Well, apparently that's not going to occur because of the rules of the United States Senate.
So you're saying the minimum wage won't be in this?
My guess is it will not be in it. But I do think that
Gee golly, Jim, apparently that's not going to happen because of the rules of the United States Senate, but my guess is that's not going to happen, but I'm willing to negotiate that in a separate bill. Well, first of all, if President Biden is, not up on the news, the CBO has scored what a $15 minimum wage would do. Bernie Sanders' bill to hike the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour would grow the deficit by $54 billion over a decade. Congress's independent budget scorekeeper estimated Monday. That prediction of a deficit pile up could work in Sanders' favor as he fights to include the minimum wage increase in the package Democrats are crafting to enact Biden's $1.9 trillion stimulus plan. Under the fast-track budget process Democrats could use to clear the aid package with just 51 votes in the Senate, the bill must have a direct and substantial impact on federal spending, revenues, or the debt. So the Congressional Budget Office score is a boon for Democrats fighting for the minimum wage to be included, even as Biden cast doubt on whether it would pass muster under Senate rules for the reconciliation process. Quote, what that means is that we could clearly raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour under the rules of reconciliation, Sanders said about CBO's predictions. Let's be clear, we are never going to get 10 Republicans to increase the minimum wage through regular order, said Sanders, chair of the Senate Budget Committee. The only way to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour now is to pass it with 51 votes through budget reconciliation. So, here you have Joe Biden going on national television. I mean, he's either doesn't know what's going on, or he's just gaslighting you. I think he's just gaslighting you. And he's saying, well, I don't think it could get through based on Senate rules. No, the CBO has scored it. That is what needs to happen for it to go through the budget reconciliation process. So the key is, in what that Politico story said, is for those fighting for a $15 minimum wage, which I just want to be clear. I'm not for a $15 minimum wage. I'm for a $25 minimum wage. But I'm not going to poo-poo it. $15 minimum wage would lift, millions and millions and millions of people out of poverty. So it's not something that I'm going to say, let's not fight for it. I'm just saying the framing at this point that $15 minimum wage is going to bring us to the promised land. If we've had $7.25 this long, once a $15 minimum wage goes into effect, God, it's going to be a mountain of a climb, a mountain of a fight to stop them from keeping it at $15 minimum wage for the next 30 years like they did at $7.25. Mary, $15. Jordan, you go, dude. When Travis Bickle said, you talking to me, I now hear you saying, you talking about my wife? Don't back down. Good man. You talking about my wife? Listen, I'm a public figure, for good or for bad. You're welcome to come after me if you'd like. You should see the emails I get. I just got one really vile email. He's lucky I'm not going to mention his name, because I should mention his name. And I will read it at some point. I'm not going to read it today. But this person sent me a vile email wishing for very vile and disgusting things to happen to Jen, to me. Basically because I heard he doesn't like that I voted for Joe Biden. He doesn't like that I dared criticize the convo couch. And as a result of that, said some really borderline threatening things. So I had to respond, keep it coming, because I'm going to read this on the internet. And boy, did he back down, lickety-split, when I told him that. Tough guy who emailed me terrible, terrible things. So it's fine if you want to criticize me, but do me a favor, don't mention my wife. She's not a public figure. She helps the company. She doesn't work for the company, but she's always in the chat. She's always in the Discord. She's always shooting members' videos. She's a honorary member and a leading member of the community. Keep my wife out of your mouth, for the love of humanity. It's not complicated. We don't need to mention each other's wives or children. If you want to come for me, have at it. I don't really care. So thank you for the super chat. Did I miss any other super chats? Thank you, Trudy. $5. Bernie Sanders, we must raise minimum wage to $15 an hour. 3K views 4 days ago. Forbes breaking news. So I'm going to get to Bernie in a minute. But let's be clear. This is another position Biden is moonwalking away from. This is another position Biden is flip-flopping on. So this is vile. Joe Biden, I don't want to hear that $1.9 trillion is an amazing, sprawling bill. It's insufficient. Right now, you have 45% of the workers that have been laid off during coronavirus still have not gotten their jobs back. That's almost half of the jobs still not back. And I got news for you. Like during 2008, 2009, the financial crash, those companies, once, vaccinations are more thoroughly distributed, once we could get back to some economic normal, they're going to continue to do more with less, because they are going to use the coronavirus pandemic as an excuse not to hire back the majority of their workforce and to squeeze even more juice out of the orange, which is the workers of America. So this is unacceptable. And frankly, I've been accused of being a Bernie bro and never criticizing Bernie. Well, I got something to say about that. I'm going to steal from Rising and just play the clip they played. This is what Bernie said in response to Biden essentially moonwalking now away from a $15 minimum wage.
Now, to be clear, he supports raising the federal minimum wage. He just thinks it's not going to make it into the final bill. You're the Senate Budget Committee chairman. Is President Biden wrong?
Well, I hope he is, Jake. As you indicated, the president supports the $15 an hour minimum wage. I do. Our last poll I saw has 62% of the American
said. Now, to be clear, he supports raising the federal minimum wage. He just thinks it's not going to make it into the final bill.
Stop Jake Tupperware right there. Jake Tupperware. This is this corporate framing. They're just stenographers for the powerful. He just thinks he's not going to make it into the final bill. What is this, the janitor? He just thinks it's not going to make it into the final bill? He's the fucking president of the United States, for God's sakes. Stop carrying water for right-wing Republican Joe Biden. And I know what's coming, Jordan, but you voted for him. Yeah, I'm not going to defend my vote for the next 4 years. I stand by it. I gave you the reasons I did it. I told you, you vote for whoever you want. I never pushed you to vote for Joe Biden. I respected your vote. I don't voter shame people. If you chose not to vote for him, that's fine. I chose to vote for him because what I was seeing, the growing extremism at these rallies, and I'm never, and I still criticize Biden even after I told you I was going to vote for him. So I knew what was coming. This is not a surprise to me. I did it. I stand by it, and that's the end of it. But what's amazing here is this corporate framing. He just thinks it's not going to make it into the bill. If Joe Biden wants it into the budget reconciliation bill, it would be in the budget reconciliation bill. Do you think the CBO is going to go to war with the president to not have this into the budget reconciliation? I just showed you that the CBO officially said raising it to $15 minimum wage would add $54 billion to the federal deficit. $54 billion to the federal deficit, which is bullshit anyway, because modern monetary theory, it doesn't matter. We have the money. So the corporate media is pushing this nonsense that Biden has no agency here. Biden has no authority here. Biden has no muscle here. He just, they say he won big against Trump. Well, it's not a matter of he thinks it's not going to make it into the final bill. He's not fighting for it to be in the final bill. By the way, we got 415 people watching. 240 of you have pressed that like button. Can I get another like? Smash that like button. I want to also tell you I will have an announcement shortly on some happenings here at Status Coup. And I think you're going to like these happenings. So please, if you're not a Status Coup member, consider becoming one. Oh, it's 420. 420 people watching right now. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Consider becoming a Status Coup member for as low as $5 a month. Tomorrow night is our members' call. Myself, Jen, special guest John Farina, who's been freelancing for us for a couple months. He got that amazing footage at the Capitol on January 6th, that footage that YouTube has taken down because YouTube is terrible. So John will join us on the members' call. I'll be there. Jen will be there for as long as she feels okay because she's still struggling physically with COVID. So tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific is our members' call. So make sure you sign up. If you sign up before tomorrow, you will get the link. You will get the link to our Status Coup members' call. So, and let me put the link in if you want to sign up as a member. So, Bernie, also, I have a bone to pick with. Bernie. So, let me get something straight. Bernie gave Biden his endorsement, no questions asked, didn't demand for his endorsement. I'm not saying Bernie shouldn't have honored that he was going to endorse and support the Democratic nominee. That's what he said in the beginning of his second presidential run. He's an honorable guy, so obviously he was going to follow through. But there's something called negotiation. There's something called exerting leverage. He didn't need to come out exactly when he did to support Biden. He didn't need to do it as vociferously as he did throughout the election. He could have very well said, yeah, I'll endorse you right now. I want labor secretary. That's it. Or I'll endorse you right now. Guaranteed $15 minimum wage. If we take the Senate, put it through budget reconciliation. He didn't do those things, apparently. Biden passed him up for labor secretary. Now Biden is moonwalking away from the only thing Bernie apparently demanded from Biden, which was a $15 minimum wage. And frankly, this response from Bernie ain't enough for me.
You're the Senate Budget Committee chairman. Is President Biden wrong?
Well, I hope he is, Jake. As you indicated, the president supports the $15 an hour minimum wage. I do. A last poll I saw has 62% of the American people supporting it, because at the end of the day, we are in the midst of massive income and wealth inequality. People on top are doing phenomenally well, and yet we have literally tens of millions of Americans working for starvation wages. You cannot make it in any state in this country on $9 or $10 an hour. We've got to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour. And I can tell you, as chairman of the Budget Committee, we have a room full of lawyers working as hard as we can to make the case to the parliamentarian that, in fact, raising the minimum wage will have significant budget implications and, in fact, should be consistent with reconciliation rules.
So let me get something straight. Why is it all this I think, we have an army of lawyers trying to make the case to the parliamentarian, whoever the hell that is? The Congressional Budget Office has already scored what a $15 minimum wage would do. They say it would add $54 billion for the federal deficit, which I don't really give a damn about, and you shouldn't either. Modern monetary theory will tell you we have all the money in the world for this. The debt, the deficit, it's all made up bullshit. We print money like we breathe. We print money for war in Afghanistan, Iraq, subsidies for Goldman Sachs, Pfizer, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, the tax cuts for the rich, the corporations. We could print money for a $15 minimum wage, no problem. But what's amazing to me about this is Biden is sitting here pretending like he has no responsibility in all this. He's got no agency, authority in all this. We got to leave it to the parliamentarian. We got to convince the parliamentarian, Bernie says. Bernie, if you haven't gotten the memo yet, Donald Trump is out of office and the Democratic Party is still fixated on Donald Trump. Instead of fixating on the economic gunshot wound that we're all suffering from, not all of us, but most of us, the Democratic Party's campaign strategy just came out. They want to run the midterm campaign on QAnon, on making Republicans extreme. How'd that work out when you focused on the Tea Party's extremism? This is what they want to focus on, Marjorie Taylor Greene and QAnon. I'm not saying Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't an extreme batshit lunatic, and I'm not saying the Republican Party shouldn't feel the pain and be targeted politically for their extremism. But that's not going to help people put food on the table. It ain't going to help people make sure they don't have to decide between medicine or food for their kids. It's not going to help people avoid being kicked out onto the streets when the eviction moratorium is lifted, which nobody's talking about that in Biden's $1.9 trillion, sweeping $1.9 trillion that you see in all these corporate media write-ups. $1.9 trillion is not enough for the magnitude of the problem. And frankly, I'd like Bernie Sanders. You did your job. You helped Biden get elected. Now fight Biden publicly. He's already moonwalking away from $2,000 checks, which Bernie is now giving the Democratic line in interviews. Yes, it's a $1,400 plus the $600. Bernie, come on. You're better than this. I'm not going to go as far as some others calling you, sellout and Lucifer and all this. But Bernie, you've still got a massive movement behind you. Yeah, there's people who are mad at you. Whatever. You still got a huge movement behind you. Use that movement. Pressure Biden publicly. Shame Biden publicly. You're 79 years old. You don't know how much longer you're going to be able to serve in the Senate. And, the devil's advocates could say, well, Jordan, Biden's only been in there for 5 minutes. Why shouldn't Bernie take the diplomatic approach? Well, has history shown you that taking a diplomatic approach with the corporate Democratic establishment and Joe Biden is going to get you to the economic promised land? You think taking a diplomatic approach and saying, "Well, I hope Mr. President is wrong. I hope Mr. President. I hope that he's wrong." Bernie, say he's wrong. Say the Congressional Budget Office just scored it. It has a direct budget impact. They said the CBO says X, Y, and Z. So it fulfills the requirements that there be a direct budget implications, and there is no excuse for President Biden not to honor his core campaign position. And by the way, be clear, in Biden's interview with that corporate hack from CBS, he said he's open to negotiating that phasing in of the $15. It's already going to take till 2025 if it passed as law today. It's already going to take till 2025 for it to be $15 minimum wage. First, it would go from $7.25, I think, to $9.50, then to $11, and so on and so on. So now Biden is open to negotiating that insufficient phasing. He's open to negotiating the phasing in. So what are we going to get? A $15 minimum wage by 2040? Are you kidding? Bernie, what are you doing? Smash that like button. We almost got 500 watching. And by the way, I know that the neoliberal resistance, the resistance who fought like hell to get Donald Trump out there, who cares about Black Lives Matter when it's in the news, but later on, doesn't want to do the work to help black people, who is theoretically for Medicare for all, but is willing to swallow their, steady diet of neoliberal empty promises. But now, on top of Biden moving away from an actual $2,000 check, now moonwalking away. And this is moonwalking away. He could say rhetorically, yes, I'm for a $15 minimum wage. When you, as the President of the United States, do not exert your power and authority and say, well, I just don't know if it's going to get into the final bill. Again, if Biden wanted it in the final bill, it would be done. Do you think Trump as president, or Mitt Romney as president, or name your right-wing extremist as president, would say, yeah, I think that 1.8 or 1.5 trillion dollar tax bill, we gotta check with the parliamentarian if we could get it into a budget reconciliation process. We got to check with the parliamentarian. Are you kidding me? This is not checking if it's constitutional. This is not checking if it's kosher. This is Joe Biden does not care to fight for a $15 minimum wage because Joe Biden is a right-wing Democrat from 1985. That's the truth. He's not going to fight for it. He's not going to fight for anything. Maybe he'll fight for focus on getting the vaccine spread, because trust me, his donors want people vaccinated. His donors want the economy brought back. And I would just assume Joe Biden isn't a complete psychopath that he would want this coronavirus to continue into perpetuity with 3,000 people dying every day. And by the way, we're now seeing new evidence that reinfections are up. In addition to the two variants that they're finding to be even more contagious than COVID-19, we're now seeing original COVID reinfections may be much more common than realized. So Google that. That's a very, very troubling sign. And why I'm being particularly careful, because even though I got it in the past, it does not mean you will not get it again. But it's not just Biden who is moonwalking away. Then you have, corporate hacks like John Ossoff, who ran on $2,000 quote-unquote survival checks. He's sending out Democratic Party, fundraising begging. Democrats' success in Georgia last election cycle is proof. Early investments deliver results. Hard-working organizers have been fighting to flip Georgia for years, and we knew full well that victory would not come easy. But this party kept at it, investing early and fighting for every last vote, and it paid dividends when Georgia delivered Joe Biden the presidency and Democrats control the Senate. Now it is incumbent upon us all to sustain our party for the long haul, to ensure that our victories this year will not be outliers. Well, Mr. Ossoff, Senator Ossoff, why the fuck should I care? Excuse my French. Why should I or anybody else care? Jessica, I hope you're feeling a little better. I see you in the chat. One of our viewers, unfortunately, has come down with COVID. I hope you're doing okay. Worried about you. Why should I or you or the suckers that continually give money to the corporate Democratic Party be putting down their money to invest in its future when they're not honoring even the bare minimum promises they made to get elected in Georgia, to elect Biden? They are walking back on a $2,000 check. Then the $1,400 check, which is a joke, is now going to be additionally means tested. And you're sending out emails. Oh, your hard work organizing got us elected so that we could break our promises to you. Now give us more money so we could break more promises to you. And this is why they're going to get wiped out in 2022. They could play as many QAnon ads as they want. They will get wiped out in 2022. Republicans will retake the House. Republicans likely would retake the Senate. That's what's going to happen. And by the way, let's not keep it just at Bernie Sanders. Where is the squad? I'm not saying fraud squad. Where's the squad? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Ed Rokana, Pramila Jayapal, Mark Procon, Jamal Bowman, Corey Bush, Marie Newman got elected on Medicare for All. Mondaire Jones got elected. You got that question mark there. Nina Turner, not there yet, might be eventually. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Where are they on Biden saying, well, I don't know if it's going to get into the final COVID bill, but, I'll look into it. And, maybe I could twist the arm of the parliamentarian. What is this? Why are you there? I was listening to an interview with the great Shama Sawant. The great Shama Sawant. She did an interview on Rising, and she did an interview on, I think, Brianna Joy Gray's podcast. She's the socialist Seattle city council member. And she made the point that things like force the vote and any other thing, it's not, or running particular candidates, it's not only about those specific fights, right? It's not only about, force the vote isn't only about getting a Medicare for All floor vote, or pushing a particular candidate isn't only about getting that person elected. All of this is about building a vibrant, progressive infrastructure to fight across the board on all issues. And it's expected, the main thing is not whether you're going to win or lose on each and every individual fight. It's that you build an apparatus, you build an organizing structure to fight so that at some point you start winning. But you have to be willing to fight. And I really liked how she put it, because it made sense that, force the vote, whether you win, whether you lose, it's not the ultimate thing. And that's what AOC and these others, I think, lost sight. And all these, Debbie Downers who said, well, you're going to lose, so why try? It's about building the organizing structure to fight so that at some point you do start winning. When she ran, she was explaining it on the podcast, when she ran in 2013 or 14 for Seattle City Council, she assumed she didn't expect to win. But the point was to show that an alternative, because she's part of the socialist alternative, could potentially run a organized campaign that is competitive, so that you start giving traditional Democratic Party voters an alternative, so that more and more Democratic Party voters fall out of this pattern of, well, I'm going to vote for the Democrat because that's the only one who could win. Just like if they would have fought for Medicare for All or the floor vote, so what if it loses? Maybe it doesn't lose by as much as you think, and it gives more Americans that aren't ready to fight for Medicare for All a view, wow, this was closer than we thought. Oh, wow, there's actually people fighting. I want to join them. So this, what Bernie is doing right now and what Squad is doing right now, I'm not saying they're Lucifer. I really think people need to get out of this, black and white thinking of, everybody's a sellout and everybody's bad and whatever. Like, life is not black or white. I know it does incredibly well for clicks to make it so. I know it's, there's a huge, niche little industry on the left now, Everybody is Lucifer that doesn't roar as much as I do. I'm not about that. Thank you, William. $5 in the super chat. And by the way, as a reminder, we got 555 people watching right now. Make sure you sign up as a member so you can join our members call tomorrow night. Johnny Farina is joining us, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. You can ask him whatever you want about his great footage on the Capitol attack. He'll tell you a lot of the behind the scenes that you might not know about. So he's joining us. Jen will be there as long as she's feeling up to it. She's still suffering with COVID. I'll be there tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. If you are a member, you know the drill. You get a link to join us. If you are a new member, you will also get that link. So please sign up, statuscucom.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 a month. If you don't have the $5, we get it. If you do, sign up, statuscu.com/join. By the way, welcome new Status Coup member Matthew. Just signed up, so we're at 1,809. And pretty soon I'm going to announce a couple things, which is exciting, but also in part we're going to want to grow our membership lickety-split to pay for the things that I'm going to announce. So sign up if you haven't, statuscu.com/join. So here's the thing. At some point, Bernie, and maybe he'll never, maybe I'll just forever respect Bernie Sanders for what he has done for the progressive movement, but also have to add that he was a naive weakling when it came to using political power. Because as of now, he's a naive weakling when it comes to political power. I said it during the campaign. I say it now. Bernie is not the president, but Bernie has a huge public platform and an army behind him ready to shame the president. And I think Biden does care about optics. I think Biden does care about keeping up appearances as middle-class Joe. Bernie could have said in that interview yesterday, and he could say it right now. He could do a press conference. He could do a digital video. Mr. President, with respect, you are wrong, and it's time to fight. This can be put into budget reconciliation because it does have a direct budget impact. The Congressional Budget Office has scored it as having a budget impact. There's nothing stopping us from putting this in with the overall COVID bill, and we need to do it now. It's already insufficient that this would be phased in over 5 years. We need to do it now. And Bernie needs to be pressured to do this. I don't know. I mean, at some point, who are you listening to? Who are you listening to? You don't have to worry about being scapegoated now for, re-electing Donald Trump. He's gone. So what is the downside, Bernie, of fighting? You are now the budget chairman. But this whole diplomatic approach where you're going on interviews and saying, well, I hope Biden's wrong. He is wrong. He is. And again, where is the squad? Bernie with the squad over in the House. They could be raising hell right now.
Millions of people.
They could be raising hell. I don't know why they're not. This is too complex, Jordan? I don't think so. I think it's very simple. If there's something you don't understand, feel free to ask. But the bottom line is Biden's moonwalking away from a $15 minimum wage. He's saying he doesn't think it could be put into his overall COVID bill because of some Senate mumbo-jumbo rule, even though the CBO has said it has a direct budgetary effect. That's the main marker for whether something could be put into something could be proposed under budget reconciliation. Unless Biden is still, holding out to break bread with Mitch McConnell and, return us to the good old days where Democrats and Republicans, together screw you. I mean, it's just a joke. And it's time. We need fighters. It doesn't matter if you lose or win on every single issue. It matters that you fight, because if you don't fight, you're going to lose. If you don't fight at all, you're going to lose. Biden, if Bernie is under the misconception that Biden genuinely in his heart and fire in his belly wants a $15 minimum wage, and that's a major priority for him, then Bernie, you're naive. You're naive if you think that. He's not going to fight for it. He's showing you he's not going to fight for it. So you have to fight him publicly. And the media will cover it if it's a food fight. That's the only thing they care about. They've lost Trump as a 24/7 media topic, as others have reported. CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News' ratings plummeted the first week that Trump was out of office. Trump can't access his Twitter and Facebook anymore, so they don't have their hourly, reactions to Trump's madness, and they're looking for something. So Bernie, use it. Fight him. AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal, Mark Pocan, Cori Bush, who's the other one? Jamal Bowman, whoever I'm forgetting. What are you doing there? What are you doing there? And I know it's easier for YouTube hosts to, play Monday morning quarterback and criticize, but we're seeing a pattern here where we're told during elections, well, no, we can't go too far, Jordan, because, we got to get Trump out. Okay. Well, that's over with now. So what are we holding our political fire now? To be clear, YouTube, I'm not talking about real fire, since you can't distinguish between violence and harmful content. It's crazy. Am I wrong, folks? Let me know in the chat. Am I wrong? Am I being too tough? Am I being tough? I know some people have a big problem if I don't call Bernie Lucifer. If I don't call him, a sellout and a fraud. Well, I'm not going to just do clicks for people's appetite. Jimmy feels how he feels. Other people feel how they feel. We don't have to agree on every single thing. I don't think Bernie's a fraud. I think Bernie, frankly, is in large part responsible that $15 minimum wage, Medicare for all, is even a debate at this point, is even strongly rising in the polls. But that doesn't mean he's, God, and we can't criticize him. $15 minimum wage is insufficient. It needs to happen now, so then we could start fighting and moving towards a $20 minimum wage, a $25 minimum wage. Frankly, we shouldn't be fighting for whether $15 minimum wage should be put into the bill. We should be fighting on the phasing of $15 minimum wage. You want to phase it from $7.25 to $10 first? Fine. But it should be short. It should be, at the most, a 2-year phasing in, not a 5-year phasing in. Nobody's got time, 5 years, to wait for a $15 minimum wage. Are you kidding me? No. We should have it $7.25 to, let's say, $12.50, and then $12.50 to $15. That's it. So, Bernie, I know you watch Status Coup. I wish. You are 79 years old. I'm not trying to be an ageist, but let's be real here. You don't have that much more time, that much longer in the Senate. So, enough with the diplomacy. You fought like hell to get Biden elected. A lot of people disagree with you on it. That's over with. But you have the power to make this a public reckoning for Biden. Biden is not entitled to any honeymoon period. We're in a friggin' economic depression. People are starving. People are facing mass homelessness. And Biden's sitting there pontificating and moonwalking away from an already insufficient $2,000 check and already then moving to $1,400. Oh, we might means test it. This is neoliberalism on steroids. So we'll keep following it. So a couple announcements before I go, because I got a doctor at 6:00. 600 people are watching, so I'm very happy to announce we're pretty much at the point where we have enough, at least for a little while, to bring on another freelance reporter. We're going to do it on a trial basis, so we're not going to bring somebody on right away permanently, but we're going to try out, maybe one, maybe two people. I wrote a post today that we're going to post on a couple jobs boards. It will be freelance because we're not making enough at this point to be hiring people full time with benefits. I wish that were the case, but we're not. So it'll be a freelance position. My desire is to have that person in the Midwest. We got me, Jen, John here on the East Coast. We have Tina out west. We want to be able to cover things in the middle. Plenty of stuff always going on in the Midwest. So We are going to post that. I am looking for somebody with a little bit of journalism experience. So apologies to viewers if you wanted to apply, but we don't have time really to train people. So we do have time and desire to help somebody grow, but we want somebody with a little experience, on-air experience, all that. So we will be posting this on job boards. So I'm excited about that because, obviously you want people, you want to be able to expand. It's a little tricky with coronavirus. So obviously people, whoever we bring on in this freelance role will have a car so that they could drive to places, maybe not have to fly until it's a little safer to do that. So we are going to post that. I don't know, how quickly we'll get somebody on board, but we are looking for somebody, particularly in the Midwest. Secondly, Jen and I spoke with Tina earlier. So Tina's been doing great work for us out west. So we want to, expand, I guess you could say, with Tina. So we are going to try and have her on live, in particular, a little bit more, possibly, twice a week. We're going to see if there's a way to have Tina, if she's live, like just flow right into my live stream so we don't have to shut down the live stream, but, go from her live stream to mine. We also talked about a couple other stories and Tina doing, more stories. So this is all about growing Status Coup. I've said from the beginning, I don't want to be the only face of Status Coup. You're not getting rid of my face, but we want to grow this. So that's why it is very, very important that we grow this right here, particularly, keeping it real with the threat right now coming from YouTube. They've taken down 2 of our live streams in the last 3 weeks. They just demonetized quite a lot of channels in our category. At the moment, we have not been demonetized. I'm hoping it stays that way, but there's no guarantee it will stay that way. So we need to grow this because all of this costs money. We're kind of rolling the dice slightly on this. Like technically, we have enough to bring in somebody in the Midwest, at least for a little while. But we want to grow so that we could, if this person is good, keep them for the longer term. But it all starts with you. And obviously, it's tough economic times right now. So if it's not within your ability to join us for $5 a month, we understand that, no problem. If it is within your ability to join us for as low as $5 a month, that's what it's going to. We unlike other outlets, we don't beg you for money and then sit on it or spend it on God knows what. We actually spend it on traveling, covering stories in the field, equipment. I actually just spoke with Ty, our former cameraman and friend of the show still. I just bought $1,000 worth of new equipment, and we have more that we have to buy because we're going to totally redo my studio so we can finally, once and for all, fix the lighting, fix the production, fix everything, and make it really wonderful and wonderful looking. Fix the mic, fix the lighting, maybe get a monitor behind me. So Ty's going to be coming over in the next week or two to help me with that. But all of this costs money. And, for the people saying, Jordan, stop begging for money. Well, if you have a money tree in your backyard that you'd like to lend to me, then I'll stop begging for money. But if you don't, piss off. Because we ask for money to actually spend it on journalism. So, and the other thing is, I got a lot of positive feedback on my father calling into the show. So we might have to do a live interview with him on screen soon, because there was a lot of people that really enjoyed Larry Sheridan. I don't know if you're going to feel that way after an extended interview. His views on Israel and other things might make your head explode. But we might have my dad on. So those are the main things. Number one, we're posting this week for somebody in the Midwest on a freelance basis for a new reporter. Tina, you're going to be seeing more of. And we also might soon be trying to get some additional freelance help for the behind the scenes because Lord knows Jen and I are exhausted. We need more help for basically everything you could think of: research, logistics, marketing, social media, publishing, everything. So that's it. That's the show. I got to go do a breathing test. Apparently I have asthma now, so I got to get a breathing test for some more information. So I'll be back tomorrow, most likely. Thank you for watching. Please sign up as a Status Coup member. Again, we're having our members call tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific. It will be with me, Jen, and John tomorrow night. You will get the link if you are a member. It's a lot of fun. It's on Zoom, and it's always a good time. Probably a lot of TMI that we give out that we shouldn't. So sign up, statuscucom/join. Let's get this thing closer to 2,000. So right now we're at 1,809. Would love, before the members call tomorrow night, to get, another 15, 20 signups. So sign up if you can. I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.